This is State Representative Tom Bennett with a report from the Capitol for the first week of July. Today, the legislature has passed the budget. It spends more than $36 billion for the new fiscal year. It also raises the state's income tax up to 4.95% and the corporate income tax to 7%. Supporters say these hikes will bring in around $4.7 billion. I voted no on the tax increase and no on the spending. I voted no on overriding the governor's veto. This was a tough decision to make, given the crisis the state has been in for far too long. But in the end, there were a lot of reasons to vote no. Probably the biggest was that this deal did not include any reforms to our broken state government. We had a chance to take action to make sure another crisis like this never happens again. Instead, we blinked. Without reforms to create jobs and address long-term challenges, I fear we'll be right back here again in the future dealing with the same problems. We won't solve them with last-minute emergency proposals and the same old tax and spend behavior. Fact is, nobody won here. The problems we face are well known: a toxic partisan environment, important state institutions like universities on the verge of collapse, people and jobs moving out of our state by the thousands, and every year we fall farther behind our neighbors in job creation. While the state now has a budget in place and higher taxes to pay for it, it has not addressed the issues that are making these problems worse every year. We were negotiating workers' comp reform and pension reform and property taxes. We could have had a broad agreement that would have reformed state government and started repairing the damage that has been done in these past years. Word around the Capitol was that agreements were close. And as a sign of good faith, Republican leadership and many rank-and-file members, including me, voted for an amendment to the spending bill Friday morning, thinking it was the first step in the agreement that we all wanted. But instead, Speaker Madigan pulled the plug on negotiations and ran his budget and his tax bills without any reforms. A few hours before the vote, we received the final version of the budget, all 630 pages of it. And this came just after we had the 580-page tax bill dropped on our desks. We were still reviewing them when they were brought up for debate. I felt like these two actions showed the lack of interest by the Democrats for true debate or true compromise. Without having enough time to read the bill and understand what was in it, but knowing that it did not include any of the reforms that our state sorely needs, I felt the only responsible action was to vote no and continue working for a broad compromise on the budget and reforms. The budget passed the House Sunday and Monday. The Senate passed it on Tuesday, and Governor Rauner immediately vetoed it, and the Senate then quickly voted to override his veto. The House followed suit on Thursday, and the budget and tax increase went into effect immediately after the vote. As I have studied the deal, here's what I have observed. The budget does not do enough toward bringing down the bill backlog. We owe close to $15 billion in overdue bills, and the interest on those bills will continue to grow. Last week, a federal court ordered the comptroller to pay Medicaid managed care organizations $586 million per month, and this budget does nothing to help with that impending crisis. The budget included a permanent tax hike without any property tax relief to help taxpayers, nor any other changes to the broken system that taxpayers must now pay more money into. We need real change and real reform. Education is critical, just as social services and protecting our elderly are critical. Protecting taxpayers is vital, and we need to do better. This deal does not do the things that we need it to do in order to really improve matters in our state. We need to get this done right.